Hey, Andrew here, and today I'm going to talk to you about Faction Guerrilla. The series has been largely on hiatus since about 2002 when the second game came out. Volition is looking to turn things around with a series that is definitely notable for their destructible environments. And they definitely return in this game. Everything except for the terrain this time around is destructible. While you can't dig underground, it's just amazing to see how these buildings fall apart. It makes for some incredible gameplay and just some amazing moments while you're running away from the EDF. Sometimes though, it does act a bit strangely. If you're trying to take down a tower, for instance, maybe it'll just be held up by one or two supports on the side. And it'll eventually fall over, but it definitely shouldn't act like it. But it really isn't a big deal, and it's just so much fun to watch a tower just collapse onto another building, and then that building just falls over. There's nothing like that in any game that you can find today. One of the main new features of Faction Guerrilla is the open world environment. The previous games, Faction 1 and 2, were set up as first-person shooters, and you couldn't just go around wherever you wanted. But in the style of GTA or Saints Row 2, you can go wherever you want now. There are 6 different zones, all of course in varying sizes, and they'll allow you to go to certain points which will start a mission. Or you could just take the route of running around destroying EDF and their structures, whatever works for you. The mission structure is actually set up in a pretty cool way. It deals directly with something called control. Now, the EDF hold a certain amount of control over each region, and once you bring that control down to a certain threshold, it's going to unlock a Faction story mission, and that's how you progress the game and you move on into new zones. Those missions will also net you things like salvage, and salvage is the currency of the game. You can use it to buy different equipment, upgrades, things like that. As far as the Faction story missions go, it's not going to win any type of award. Liberate the people of Mars from the EDF tyranny. If you played through the original games, or you're a veteran in any way, you've already been through this before. The missions they do their job, they're very fun, and they're very unique. They also have a pretty forgiving checkpoint system, so if you misstep in the middle of a mission that's pretty long, they're actually going to put you back right around that spot, so you don't have to redo the entire thing again. One of the best things about this game are the Demolition Master and Heavy Metal missions. The Jenkins missions are pretty good too, but nonetheless, all of these are worth experiencing the game for. Demolition's Master is a series of explosive puzzles, and they'll baffle you, but they're very fun to figure out, and even cooler visually to complete. Heavy Metal is more reliant on just pure destruction. You'll get an assortment of vehicles. It's usually some kind of heavy-duty toy, and you've got to take out a whole bunch of EDF. The Jenkins missions, you tail along this redneck-looking dude, and you'll have to destroy a certain amount of millions worth of damage to EDF structures. This is also pretty fun because it's like an on-rails shooter. But for the people who don't like to stick to the conventional path and do the same missions or deal with the story, Volition has put something in the game just for you. And they're called high importance targets. There's also medium ones too. They're usually guarded by a huge defense force, and they are equally large structures. It is the most fun in the entire game to try and figure out how to destroy these things without just being eradicated. The game also gives you a great deal of variety of weapons to take out these targets, as well as to aid you on your missions, of course. One of my favorites is the nano rifle, which is a weapon that basically dissolves the molecules just right in front of you. Things just vanish. There's also stuff like an arc welder that shocks people right out of vehicles, and a grinder, which is basically a saw blade, and you can upgrade it to explode later. But whatever you choose, even just the normal sledgehammer, all the weapons really add to the fun factor of this entire experience. But enough about the single player. There are actually 2 multiplayer components to talk about in this game. One is called Wrecking Crew, and it's actually a great deal of fun. If you ever played Burnout, it's just like Crash Mode. More of a pass-the-controller, party-type game. There's a bunch of different modes. One gives you limited ammo, another one just has you destroy barrels. And it's just a nice little time waster if you have some people over and you just want something to do. Unfortunately, the competitive side of things doesn't really come out so well. It's just an unrefined mess. The weapons aren't balanced at all. The maps are forgettable. Spawns are awful. You just do well to stick with the single-player campaign. Volition did a great job with this game, and I think that everyone should experience it at some point. However, it's going to take you around 15 hours, and there's really no reason to go back to Mars after you've finished it. So just do yourself a favor and settle for a rental.